So Lindy West was no stranger to cyber abuse. Here's Lindy. At least every day, a stranger sought her out online to call her a fat bitch. Nothing hit as hard, though, as when amongst her Twitter feed, she spotted a profile picture of her father, her deceased father, who had passed away from prostate cancer. Someone had created a mock profile of her dad with the bio reading, "Embarrassed father of an idiot." His location was a dirt hole in Seattle. I can guarantee that nearly every person in this audience has experienced cyber abuse. Whether it's happened to you directly or you've witnessed it happen to someone else, the large majority has experienced cyber abuse. So let's change this. Let's do more than just stop the behaviour. Let's do more than just tell victims of cyber abuse to just ignore it. Working together, we can create an empathic online environment that has no place for cyber abuse. Using your own two hands, you can cultivate an empathic environment online. I began researching cyber abuse when I realised it had the power to kill people. You may remember in 2014, Charlotte Dawson, an Australian model and television personality, committed suicide after a long battle of experiencing cyber abuse. And once I started looking, it was everywhere. After the death of Charlotte Dawson, combined with these rising incidents of cyber abuse, I began to explore predictors of this behaviour. I was driven by the question, which I'm sure many of you have asked, why do these people do what they do? I decided the best way to answer this question was to build a psychological profile of the cyber abusers. After conducting a number of research studies, my colleagues and I established that people who cyber abuse are more likely to be callous, impulsive, enjoy causing psychological harm, but importantly, have low levels of empathy. Empathy is a fundamental component of pro-social behaviour, and it broadly refers to your reaction when you observe the experience of another person. Empathy has two main forms. There's cognitive empathy and affective empathy. Now, cognitive empathy is your ability to recognise and understand another person's experience. This form of empathy is considered more analytical, deliberate, and controlled. Now, affective empathy is your ability to experience, internalise, and then respond to the emotions of others. So this form of empathy is considered more unintentional, spontaneous, and immediate. Now, although they're related, these two forms can be independent from one another. So for example, you might cognitively understand someone else's perspective, but that doesn't necessarily mean you will share that affective, emotional reaction. In our studies, we found no result for cognitive empathy. However, we did find a significant result for affective empathy. People who cyber abused were more likely to have low levels of affective empathy. So let's focus on that for a moment. The lack of ability to experience, internalise, and then respond to the emotions of others predicts cyber abuse. So what can we do with this information? How can we address this? Is it even possible to target this form of empathy online in a medium where we're disconnected from each other behind screens? Well, I'm here to say yes. We can create empathy online, and I'm going to tell you how to do it. First, though, we need to appreciate that empathy is a learnable skill, and research has shown positive results with empathy training. However, like any other skill, it requires practice over time. So what I would like everyone in the audience now to do with me is to engage in a brief empathy exercise. So I'm going to ask you some questions and lead you through this exercise. To start, I'd like everyone to think of your significant other or a friend, family member, or co-worker. Now, what has their mood been like in recent days? What's going on in this person's life that might be making them happy, sad, anxious, or angry? What could you do or say to improve this person's situation? So engaging in empathy exercises like these teaches us to identify emotions in others. It heightens your awareness of how you might contribute to someone else's experience and what you might do or say to change their situation. Another component of empathy training is the importance of observation during communication. When we observe others, our mirror neurons kick in. Now, on a basic level, these neurons basically reflect the actions of others, causing us to mimic those actions in our own brain. So put simply, mirror neurons are the physiological basis of empathy. So given this importance of observation during communication for empathy, how do we use this online, where we are disconnected behind screens and text? Well, a simple first strategy is to video chat when you can. Don't rely on Messenger and text. Catch up with friends via video chat, participate in live chats. Being able to see that there is a person behind the screen reminds us that there's a person behind the screen. There are other ways that you can cultivate an empathic environment online. Follow groups and pages that make you feel good. Block the haters that want to bring you down. Report comments and behaviour that violate the standards you set for your online space. Model the behaviour you want to see, and let's take responsibility for our online culture. The final and perhaps most difficult strategy is to fight the cyber abuse with radical empathy. That is, fight the cyber abuse with compassion and understanding. I know it's easier said than done, but when you see negative comments and behaviour online, stop and think, what's going on in this person's life that might be making them sad, anxious, or angry? And what could I do or say to improve this person's situation? Let's see cyber abuse for what, in most cases, it truly is. Someone using the internet to vent their anger and frustration in an anonymous space. Even if being empathic is the last thing that you feel, even if you don't even want to try and share this person's viewpoint, this is our most crucial empathy practice, responding to the cyber abuse with compassion and understanding. Because even in the online world, love will always beat hate. The final story that I would like to share with you tonight is what happened to Lindy when she confronted the user who created the mock profile of her father. Now, although Lindy's normal response to cyber abuse was to block, ignore, report, repeat, this particular user derailed her to impersonate her beloved deceased father, Paul West, was such a significant act of cruelty. So in response to this, Lindy wrote a vulnerable, candid article on a popular website about the personal and societal impact of cyber abuse. The next day, she woke to this email, and I don't have pockets. Hey Lindy, I don't know why or when I started trolling you. I think my anger towards you stems from your happiness with your own being. It offended me because it served to highlight my unhappiness with my own self. I have emailed you through 2 other Gmail accounts just to send you idiotic insults. I apologise for that. I created the Paul West Dunzo @Gmail account and the Twitter account. I have deleted both. I can't say sorry enough. It was the lowest thing that I've ever done. When you included it in your latest article, it finally hit me. There is a living, breathing human being who is reading this shit. I am attacking someone who never harmed me in any way and for no reason whatsoever. I'm done being a troll. Again, I apologise. I made a donation in memory to your dad, and I wish you the best. Now, this email was not a result of Lindy demonstrating radical empathy, but it highlights why radical empathy might be such a powerful tool online. Because the true core of this email is I hate you because I hate myself. And someone like this could respond to compassion and understanding. I'm not saying we're going to solve all of our online problems at once. And I'm also aware that there's probably going to be a group of people who are just not going to respond to radical empathy. But for those people who are behaving this way because they're sad, anxious, or angry, then maybe we can change this. Radical empathy doesn't have to be a written response. It can just be the act of trying to understand that someone is cyber-abusing because they are hurting. And maybe if more of us respond with radical empathy, we'll start cultivating that empathic environment online. Arm yourself with empathy to disarm the cyber abuse. Thank you.